haven't said this in a while, but I used to say it all the time. This is not an agenda-driven channel. Whatever the topic is, I'm going to give you all the information that I have on that topic, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I see it. Most of the time, all of us agree. Sometimes we don't agree. Take yesterday, for example. A lot of you guys disagreed with my position on Malika Andrews for a variety of reasons. My normal like percentage on my videos is above 98%. That video yesterday is around 93%. That's a huge decrease. I saw a lot of your comments. I understood where most of you guys were coming from. Now, it didn't necessarily sway my opinion, and I obviously didn't change yours, but that's fine. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. But there are certain topics, there are certain things where there should be no reason for disagreement. For example, if some deranged lunatic tries to get violent inside a club, Shay, I might not agree with Uncle Shay on most issues. I might think that he's misguided. I might think that he is driven by an agenda. But that doesn't mean I want to see him physically harmed. I don't want to see Shay in a dangerous situation. I think that's something we can all agree on, right? Another area where I think there should be no reason for disagreement is when it comes to children. One of the reasons that tweet from Des Bryant caught my attention yesterday is because he called out Malika Andrews' parents and accused them of raising her wrong. Her parents, her upbringing, it had absolutely nothing to do with that situation. Now, I wasn't offended by it. I didn't find it to be offensive. I'm not easily offended. I just thought it was unnecessary. It takes a lot for me to be offended by something, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. What Carron Phillips and Deadspin have done to that poor child in Kansas City, that was offensive. I don't care what your cause is. I don't care how passionate you are spanking the wanker to woke boner words. It's not that difficult to leave the kids out of it. If you want to promote and believe in mythical racism, fine. If you want to live your entire life with a victim mentality, fine. Leave the kids out of it. There's absolutely no reason you can give me that justifies using a child to further your own narrative in an attempt to convince people to believe your bullshit. Now, for those that don't know, Carron Phillips at Deadspin published an article this week accusing a young fan of the Kansas City Chiefs of mythical racism because the young kid was dressed like Squanto with black and red face paint. Of course, since Carron was trying to convince the handful of people that listen to articles on Deadspin because they're all illiterate, since Carron was trying to convince them that this child was born into mythical racism, he used a picture that only showed the left or maybe it was the right side of the child's face, which was painted black. In the last 48 hours, the backlash against Carron Phillips, it's been severe. People are pissed off, and rightfully so. Surprisingly, though, I have seen very few shitfucks in the woke media coming to the defense of Carron Phillips and Deadspin. I mean, how could you defend this? It's indefensible. There is no way to defend some doofus using an innocent kid to further his own mythical narrative that America is plagued with racism. But leave it to Danny Le Batard, leave it to Captain Bitterness to come up with a creative way to defend Carron Phillips. You know, part of me wants to feel bad for Danny, even though I don't. It's got to suck to wake up every morning in a state of bitterness. If I woke up every morning next to an emotional support shovel instead of waking up to my beautiful lady, I would be bitter too. Yesterday morning, Danny was joined by his fellow huge embarrassing failures to stream a podcast that fewer and fewer people are listening to. They started talking about Carron Phillips and his attempt to destroy a child's life for having the audacity to paint his face at a football game. I guess Carron couldn't pick an adult. He couldn't select a grown man to pick on. He had to pick a child, probably because he knew that a grown man would not tolerate this bullshit. Instead of Dan Le Batard calling out Carron for his complete lack of journalistic integrity, I mean, shouldn't Dan Le Batard know about journalistic integrity? Didn't he start his career as a pretend journalist at the Miami Herald? Anyway, instead of Dan Le Batard calling out Carron for exploiting an innocent kid, Danny decides to defend it. Watch for yourself.
The right picks up Sue Deadspin. Let's bankrupt them like Gawker, because A 5-year-old kid at a game has been dressed in face paint and he is wearing Native American gear. He's at a Chiefs game. Half of his face is red, half of his face is black. He should be punished because he's wearing blackface and you're only seeing half of his face. And then you see, no, there's also red face. And the right has picked this up and said, sue Deadspin, bankrupt Deadspin. And I can't help but laugh at the center of this. I can't help but laugh somehow at the idea of they want him sued for one racism while the kid is still in full racist garb. The only part of him that's not intentionally kind of racist is the black part. The rest is team colors and he's going for just being a fan, but the racism is already in there, just not the kind that the right is picking up and flogging Deadspin with over a 5-year-old kid. Like, the stupidity of this is remarkable.
I don't know what's so funny about this, Danny. I'm struggling to understand the humor here. I'm struggling to understand what you find to be so comical. I know you can't be laughing at your own show. There's nothing funny about this show. There's damn sure nothing funny about this situation. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about an agenda-driven media. Dan Le Batard is no dummy. You don't become a multi-millionaire by being a dumbass. You don't sustain a decades-long career in the media by being a dumbass. Dan Le Batard's a smart dude, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He knew taking this position would capture the attention of conservative media. He knew this would bring temporary eyeballs to a struggling show that is desperately trying to remain relevant. He also knew that taking this position, it would assist the lonely men in his audience in their quest to spank the skin off their wanker, while also furthering his own personal narrative that the evil white man and his evil white children are born into mythical racism. They can't help but be racist. The white man is born with hate in his heart. He's jealous that he lacks color, and men like myself choose to identify as a crayon. Just think about how agenda-driven you've got to be. How can you be so dedicated to a position that's based in fantasy? How can you be so dedicated to that position that you are willing to defend someone, a grown man, who tried to destroy the reputation of a child? Let me ask you something. Let's pretend for 1 second that the roles are reversed here. Let's pretend for a second that Sean Hannity used a child to prove that deacons at Woke United Methodist are dangerous to this country. How do you think the mainstream media would respond? This is outrageous! Children should be off limits! These same people get angry when parents refuse to allow their kindergartner to receive gender-affirming care. These are the same people that pretend to be all about protecting the children. Oh, the children. It's all about the children. No child left behind. Every child deserves the right to identify as Garfield and play in the litter box instead of the sandbox. According to Dan, Carron Phillips and Deadspin, they're not to blame for charging an innocent child with mythical racism. We are to blame. Conservative media is to blame for holding Carron Phillips and Deadspin responsible. So let me get this straight. The male identifier who wrote this article, he's not to blame. The dude who exploited this kid to further his own narrative, he's not to blame. Normal people are to blame for being outraged. I don't understand, Dan. You guys loved outrage. I mean, you're always pretending to be outraged about something. If Walter White orders vanilla ice cream instead of chocolate, outrage. If Donald Trump says God bless America, Orange Man bad, outrage. If Ron the Mantis bans night nurses from Jersey from the elementary school library, outrage. We must protect the children. But when Carron Phillips does the indefensible, Dan Le Batard claims that the outrage is unnecessary? Danny is angry because conservative media, they are pushing for this family to sue Deadspin into bankruptcy. They want this family to make Deadspin the next Gawker. Now, me personally, I typically don't support lawsuits. Even though I think he's detestable, I don't want Carron Phillips to be silenced. I don't think it's necessary to sue Deadspin into bankruptcy because they're probably going bankrupt anyway. I mean, they're doing a fantastic job themselves of not making money. But this is one of those rare instances where I would support a lawsuit. I would completely understand if the parents of this child sued Deadspin. If the same thing happened to my child, I would sue. Outkick, they spoke with a legal analyst at Fox News about this potential defamation lawsuit against Deadspin. According to this Fox News legal analyst, you got to have 4 things to show defamation. 1, you got to prove that a false statement was made. Well, that should be simple since the entire premise of Carron Phillips' article was the kid is racist. Number 2, you gotta prove that this false statement was published and made available to third parties. Shouldn't be hard to prove that since Carron published the article on the internet. Number 3, you gotta prove that the person being accused of defamation knew beforehand that their statements were false. Or you gotta prove that they were negligent. Again, this should be simple to prove since Deadspin purposely showed one half of the child's face that fit their narrative. And number 4, you gotta prove harm was caused to someone's reputation. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about the law, but if this legal analyst from Fox News is right, it should be pretty simple to prove defamation here. Right now, as I'm recording this video, it's about 11:45 on Wednesday morning. Deadspin has yet to issue a retraction. Carron Phillips hasn't taken down the article. But even if they did, it's too late. Now, I will say this, and again, I'm not a legal expert. I think one of the problems that could arise if the parents decide to sue Deadspin for defamation, the kid's identity is concealed. His face is covered in face paint. If a stranger saw the kid walking down the street, they'd have no idea who the kid was. That might be the only saving grace for Deadspin, at least with the legalities of it, but it doesn't make what they did any less despicable. I don't know what's worse, Deadspin publishing the story or Dan Le Batard defending it. All right, before we get out of here, let me give you guys a quick update. First, I'm going to be starting the poll soon for the first annual Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. I haven't decided yet where I'm going to put the poll. I might put it on the community tab here on YouTube, might put the poll up on Twitter. I got to find somewhere that's going to conceal the results and not reveal them to you. So I'll let you know what I decide. But in the meantime, send me your nominations. Let me know who you think should be included in the upcoming Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. Email them to me, btlkc84@gmail.com. Please do not put the nominations in the comment section here on YouTube. This channel gets thousands of comments every day between all the videos I've got uploaded. It's just too hard to look through all the comments trying to find who you guys want to be nominated. So if you want someone nominated, shoot me an email. Now, obviously, the defending champ, Bomani Jones, he's already included, so there's no need for you to nominate the Bobo. Also, those of you that have been following this channel for a while, you guys know that I have been working with one of my friends for the past few years running a sports book. That's no longer the case. I'm stepping away from the sports book. I can't tell you how much I appreciate my friend and the opportunity that he gave me. He was the reason that I had the financial flexibility to quit my job and pursue YouTube full time. I will always appreciate him for that. But as the channel's grown, I just feel like I need to be putting more and more time into it. And it's just hard to do that when I'm spending every night and my weekends doing something else. I say all that to say, I'm planning on increasing the number of videos that I get uploaded every week. I got to figure out a schedule, but I'm hoping at minimum to get 2 published every day instead of 4 days a week and then the 1 video Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Some days, maybe I'll be able to get 3 videos published. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to have 25 hours every week more now than I did before to focus on the channel. It's going to free up a lot of my time, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. But in the meantime, let me know what you think about Dan Le Batard defending Carron Phillips. What's worse? What do you think's worse? Deadspin publishing that garbage or Dan Le Batard defending it? You let me know. Sound off in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later.